Sparkling Vouvray. We have a couple of questions. Early drinking, or should you cellar it?
I don't know what you think,
Question.
Greg, but my vote is drink it up. And I think if you can hold on for a year or two, but I kind of think that they're so lovely and youthful and joyful and effervescent, and why wouldn't you just capture them at their moment of youthful perfection? How about you, Greg?
I think the same thing. What popped into my mind was the really good ones, 3 years.
Okay.
Put it in the cellar for 3 years, and that's where it's at its peak. I wouldn't say at its peak, but that's certainly for me at part of its plateau. And there's no need to age them longer than that. Although I think most of them are ready to go. There's no need to cellar them.
Yeah,
that would be my thing.
Yeah, most of them should be, aperitivo, summer patio wines. What you greet your dear friends at the door with, glass in hand.
Yes. And what about food?
Ooh. Food. It really depends. I think that if we're talking about bubblies, we're talking about lighter foods. And I like things that have anise and fennel and basil, so kind of greenish top notes, for at least for accents, or maybe dill. I think that works really well. Really well. What do you think, Greg?
I think a very light, flaky white fish that's been grilled very gently, so it picks up just a hint of smoke. I think for me that is a beautiful combination in the summertime. Grilled in the backyard, flounder, fluke. We're in New York on Long Island. We both know Brad Kane, who's eating fluke every day right now. And I saw his picture on Facebook of his poorly grilled fluke, and I thought that would be a perfect match for this.
That does sound good. And yes, Brad is the king of fishing this time of year.
He is indeed.
And and you mentioned kind of a bit of smokiness. And I was thinking earlier, as I was tasting these wines before we went online, I thought about a bit of a smoked trout salad. So over some kind of nice, fresh, herbally greens with some dill and other fresh garden herbs. So
one of the things that you brought up before was this balance of sugar and acid. And I was sort of focusing on the fact that the wines have a certain amount of sugar, but the sugar is there to balance out the acid. And these are pretty high acid wines, which is something that can sort of slip by because they're so elegant and fresh on the palate. And I think that's why they would work well. And any place you're putting lemon, which is I'm going to the fish, I think it would work really well. And I would be interested in trying this with some avocado to see how that works. A very challenging thing to pair, but
actually, that's interesting that you mentioned it, because when I tasted our first still wine, the Domaine du Margolo, I thought of a salad that a good friend, a good pal of mine, Jean Riley, who's also a master wine, made for me at the beginning of the summer, that I've made about a half a dozen times this summer.
Oh, pray
that
tell.
I really love, and it is fennel, grapefruit, and avocado, because you get the fennel and the grapefruit for kind of these really high acid herbally notes, and you get the avocado to kind of balance it out in the end and give it some creaminess.
I had a tomato and avocado sandwich today, and that's what made me think of this. So
I'm on your team.
We might be onto something. And it's tomato season, so this sounds very exciting. Luis Alberto said it worked great with chicken and lime sauce. Out there is pairing it with a cucumber salad as those green top notes. Advice Sisters all over lobster, crab, and oysters. I think I could see these wines are so mineral. I like the oyster idea. I just like any excuse for eating oysters, so this would work perfectly for me with oysters.